Good morning. Today we are prepping for our Wednesday test. We have a test this Wednesday that is a unit test, and it is very similar to the quizzes that we have already taken as a practice or a lead into this. And the topic is characteristics of life and experimental design. So the parts of an experiment and naming what is happening and designing an experiment. You'll be asked to do all of these things on the test. Wednesday's test will not just be multiple choice or matching, we'll also have some free responses. So in an effort to be ready for that, today we reviewed the CK12 textbook assignment. We went back into our notebooks and added a little bit of information about homeostasis, about metabolism, and then we looked at the most missed questions from that CK12 task. You are free to go through that task and practice it again. That'd be a great thing for you to do in preparation for Wednesday's exam. The next thing we did was we went also into our notebook, but we went to the first of the gizmos. The gizmo that was done on your own, actually after our first quiz, I believe, and the gizmo was called Growing Plants. There were three experiments, activity A, activity B, and activity C on that gizmo. And what we did was we broke them down in class. So I'm on page 18. This is the gizmo. And what we did was we built a grid on 18C that we've been using, very similar to what we've been using in class, where we have the purpose and the hypothesis, the control group and the experimental groups, and then the three variables down at the bottom. And so we looked at the actual setup of activity A. And when you look at the setup of activity A, it tells you exactly what the purpose is, you had to write your own hypothesis, but it gives you feedback on that. And then it actually tells you the procedure. So your job is to break it apart. And that's what we did on this page. Some students wrote it by hand. I just broke up the page into the 7 pieces of the experiment and then filled in the 5 control group, experimental group, and the variables. And some people actually used my format tool that I had printed out. There are a whole bunch of these at the demo desk, and they filled it in on their sheet. So please do make certain that you break up all of activity A. And then we did the same thing for activity B on page 19. So activity B on 19 is right here. This was asking, does light really affect the growth of a plant? So these were our setups. Everybody's setup was exactly the same. You'll notice that we wrote a few details on the top of the setup pages in our notebooks, and I'd like you to do the same thing. And then we went and broke down this experiment as well. And you could write it in your notebook straight away, or you could use that breakdown sheet that was provided. The last thing that we did in class was to look at the grade book. So I'm going to show you a quick peek at the grade book. It doesn't show anybody's names, but I want you to notice there are red things in the grade book. That means I've graded it and you've not submitted it. So the last opportunity for you to turn in work for Unit 1 is Wednesday morning before you take the test. There is no value to doing this work, or there's no help that this work can do for you before or after the test. So you want to make certain that you get the red out of the grade book before Wednesday. Last thing, back to the agenda. I do want to make certain that you understand one of the things that was in the grade book that might not be read was actually your quiz from last Thursday. And I want to make it perfectly clear how you can remediate that. Last Friday, on Friday's agenda, it says down here that if your quiz that you got back, because I gave back everybody's quizzes on Friday, the quiz that you got back, if it was not a score that you wanted, if it was not a score that you're proud of, that you would like to set and leave alone, then you may do a remediation option. It has to be done by Wednesday. So by Wednesday before your testing time. So if you click this open, you'll actually get to your remediation task. And this task will tell you that you can, that's not what I wanted to do. It'll tell you that you can remediate either portion of this test. You can remediate the characteristics of life questions, or you can remediate the experimental design questions, or you can remediate both, and you can earn points back to that test. You can remediate your grade all the way up into a proficient level, which is a middle B, but we won't go higher than a middle B on remediation work. So the instructions are right here. Again, the deadline for this is 2 days after the material was given back. So I gave this opportunity to you on Friday. That means you had the weekend, but you have Monday and Tuesday as the school days that are available. And I'm available, of course, so please come see me if you need my assistance. So again, this was our, let's go to Monday. This was our path for today, or our tasks that we completed today. Again, your homework is going to be just rereading your work and reviewing your notebook and making certain that you're prepared for Wednesday's exam. Thank you.